The cry in the smoke. The sky was dark, filled with thick black smoke. The ground was broken and burned. Dead machines and broken walls were everywhere. This place was not a city anymore. It was a graveyard. Sergeant Reed walked slowly through the ruins. His boots crunched over glass and ash. He held his rifle tight and looked around with tired eyes. The war had ended 2 days ago, but silence was more dangerous than bullets. Reed was part of the search and clear unit. Their job was to find any survivors or traps in the destroyed alien base. He had done this many times before, but today felt different. As he walked near a broken tower, his earpiece clicked. A weak signal was coming through. Not military, not coded, just static. And then, something strange, a soft, high-pitched sound. Like a child crying. Reed stopped. He turned his head and listened carefully. There it was again. A cry, echoing in the smoke. Impossible, he thought. No one should be alive here, especially not a child. Still, he moved toward the sound, step by step, through smoke and rubble. His heart beat faster, not from fear, but from confusion. Behind a half-destroyed wall, Reed saw a small figure, curled up, shaking, covered in dust and ash. It was no human child. Big eyes glowed faintly, and small hands covered a strange, smooth face. The creature was no older than 5, in its own species' age. It cried softly, rocking back and forth. Reed lowered his weapon. His voice was calm, almost like a whisper. "Hey, it's okay," he said, taking a step closer. The alien child flinched and screamed. A sharp, broken sound full of fear. Reed froze, hands up, showing no harm. The child looked at him, terrified. Tears mixed with dust on its small cheeks. Reed saw something in its eyes. Not danger, not power, just fear and pain. He slowly took off his helmet. "Look," he said softly. "No mask, no tricks." The child blinked, confused. It didn't move, but it didn't cry again. Reed knelt down, slowly placing his rifle on the ground. He pulled out a small water pouch and rolled it toward the child. The alien looked at it, then at him. After a few seconds, it crawled forward and grabbed the pouch. It drank fast, almost choking. Then it coughed and wiped its face. Its voice was soft and shaky. "Ska, red," it said in broken English. "Reed?" Blinked, surprised. "You speak?" he asked. The child nodded slowly. "Little speak." "Human," it said. He felt a chill down his spine. Someone had taught this child English. This was not an enemy soldier, not a weapon. This was someone's daughter, maybe someone important. Reed stood up and looked around. If command found out, they would take the child away. Or worse, they would erase her like they erased everything else. This war had no room for mercy. He looked down at the small alien. She was looking back, eyes full of questions and fear. "What's your name?" he asked. She hesitated and whispered, "Nah." "Ra, Nara," Reed repeated. He reached out his hand slowly. After a long pause, she reached back and held his finger. Her hand was cold and shaking. Reed made his decision. He picked her up gently and wrapped her in his coat. "We're going," he said. "You're safe with me?" Nara rested her head on his shoulder as Reed walked back through the smoke. He knew what he was doing was against orders, but he didn't care. For the first time in a long while, he felt like a human again. Behind them, a broken drone's eye flickered. A red light blinked twice, then vanished. Someone was watching, and they knew the girl was still alive. Asterisk orders versus humanity. The base lights flickered as Reed entered with Nara wrapped tightly in his coat. Every hallway felt like a trap. Every camera eye felt like it was watching him. If the commanders found out what he was hiding, it would not just be the child who would die. It would be him, too. He moved quickly to his small quarters. The room was barely the size of a storage unit. He closed the door, locked it, and placed Nara gently on the bed. She looked around with wide, glowing eyes, as if the metal walls themselves were alive. "Quiet now," Reed whispered. "Don't make a sound." Nara nodded slowly, but her breathing was still fast and shaky. She was clutching the water pouch like it was her only treasure. For a moment, Reed just stood there, watching her. Something in her eyes reminded him of a memory he had tried to bury. His own daughter, lying in a hospital bed after the bombing. He had failed to protect her. He would not fail this time. Suddenly, his earpiece buzzed. "Sergeant Reed, report to command center," a cold voice ordered. His chest tightened. Had they already found out? Before leaving, Reed pulled a crate from the corner and gently hid Nara inside. He gave her a blanket and whispered, "Don't be scared. I'll come back." She grabbed his hand, her small voice trembling. "Papa," she said. The word hit Reed like a bullet. Soft but deep, he forced a smile and left. The command center was bright, filled with holographic screens and harsh voices. Colonel Hargan, a man with steel-gray eyes and no mercy, stood waiting. "You were the last to patrol the ruins," Hargan said, his tone sharp. "Did you find anything? Any alien weapons? Any survivors?" Reed hesitated. "No survivors, sir. Just wreckage," he lied. The colonel stared at him for a long moment, then leaned forward. "We picked up an unusual energy pulse from the ruins. Something not destroyed," he said. "If we find any. Alien life. You know the order, Reed. Eliminated. No exceptions." Reed felt a cold anger in his chest. "Sir," he said carefully, "what if it's not a soldier? What if it's a child?" Hargan's expression turned to stone. "A child? There are no innocent aliens. Sergeant, if you hesitate, you're weak, and weak men die first." Reed clenched his fists behind his back. "Yes, sir," he said, but inside he knew he would never follow that order. When Reed returned to his quarters, Nara was sitting quietly in the crate. Her big eyes watched him with trust. He sat down next to her and sighed. "They'll kill you if they find you," he said softly. Nara tilted her head. "Why?" "Kill?" she asked in broken English. "Because they're scared," he said. Her small hand touched his arm. "You?" "Scared?" Reed paused. "Yes," he admitted. "But I'll protect you." Later that night, the base was filled with movement. Security drones hovered in the hallways, scanning for energy anomalies. Reed knew they were looking for her. He had to think fast. His friend, Corporal Diaz, knocked on the door. "You okay, Reed? You look off," Diaz said. Reed forced a smile. "Just tired." But Diaz's sharp eyes noticed something. The crate, the blanket. Before Reed could stop him, Diaz moved closer. "Wait, what's this?" Reed blocked his way. "Don't," he said, his voice low and dangerous. Diaz froze. "You're hiding something, aren't you?" he whispered. Then he saw a small glowing eye peeking from the crate. His face went pale. "Reed, what the hell is that?" Reed grabbed his arm. "She's just a child, Diaz. She's not a threat." Diaz shook his head. "If command finds out, they'll execute both of us. You know that." Reed's voice hardened. "Then help me, or stay out of my way." Diaz hesitated, then sighed. "Damn it, Reed. You've lost your mind," he whispered. But there was something in his eyes, a flicker of respect. "Or fear. Fine, but you better have a plan." That night, alarms blared through the base. The drones had picked up something. The alien energy signature was active again. Nara was glowing faintly in fear, her small body shaking. Reed knelt beside her. "They're coming for you," he whispered. "Papa?" she said, gripping his hand. "Don't worry, kid," he said with steel in his voice. "No one's taking you from me." As footsteps thundered down the hallway, Reed picked up his rifle. He wasn't just protecting her anymore. He was about to fight his own side. Outside Reed's door, Colonel Hargan's voice growled. "Open up." "Sergeant, we know you're hiding something." Reed tightened his grip on the rifle. In that moment, he made his choice: orders or humanity. He chose humanity. The escape plan, a hallway outside Reed's room, was filled with boots. Heavy, slow, threatening. The kind of steps soldiers made when they weren't coming to ask questions. They were coming to end something. Inside, Reed stood still, holding his rifle tight. Nara clung to his leg, glowing faintly with fear. "Stay behind me," he whispered. His heart was racing, but his mind was sharp, thinking, calculating. A loud knock hit the door like a gunshot. "Sergeant Reed, open this door. Now?" Colonel Hargan's voice growled from the other side. Reed didn't answer. He looked around the room quickly. One vent in the ceiling, a hidden panel under the bed, and Diaz's stolen access card on the table. Not much, but maybe enough. He knelt beside Nara. "Do you trust me?" he asked. She nodded fast, eyes wide. "Then we run," he said. The lock on the door began to beep. They were overriding it, seconds left. Reed lifted Nara and climbed onto the bed, pushing the panel open. He shoved her inside the tight crawl space and whispered, "Stay quiet. Crawl straight ahead until you see light. Wait for me there." She nodded and disappeared into the darkness. The door burst open just as he shut the panel. 6 armed soldiers stormed in, weapons raised. Colonel Hargan stepped in behind them, his eyes sharp as knives. "Where is it?" he asked coldly. Reed played dumb. "What are you talking about?" "You know damn well," Hargan said. "We tracked an alien signature to this room." Reed raised his hands, stepping away from the bed. "No alien here, just me." The soldiers scanned the room with handheld detectors, moving slowly. 4. Now, the crawl space wasn't detected, but it wouldn't last. One of the scanners beeped faintly, near the floor. Hargan's eyes narrowed. "Lift the bed," he ordered. Reed moved fast. He knocked the scanner from the soldier's hands and punched him in the throat. The others raised their rifles, but Reed dived for the table, grabbed the smoke grenade Diaz had left him, and pulled the pin. Smoke exploded into the room, thick and burning. Shots fired blindly. Reed rolled across the floor, kicked open the vent in the wall, and slipped out into the maintenance tunnel. He ran, every muscle screaming. The walls were tight, the air hot, the sound of alarms everywhere. He reached the end of the tunnel and dropped into the storage bay. Nara was already there, crouched behind a crate. She looked up at him with fear and hope. He smiled through the sweat and smoke. "Still alive," he said. "Let's keep it that way." The storage bay led to the launch hangar. If Reed could get to a ship, any ship, he could escape with her. But the hangar was locked down, guarded, and crawling with drones. Diaz appeared at the side door, breathless and shaking. "You're insane," he hissed. "They'll brand you a traitor." Reed looked at Nara, then back at Diaz. "I'd rather be a traitor than a murderer." Diaz handed him a keycard. "There's a scout ship. Hangar 3. Minimal security." Reed nodded. "You've done more than enough." But Diaz stepped forward. "I'm coming too. If they find out I helped you, I'm dead either way." The trio moved fast and low, hiding between containers, dodging cameras. Every second, the risk grew higher. Reed could hear his name being shouted over the intercom. "Reed is armed and dangerous. Do not let him reach any ship." In Hangar 3, the scout ship stood like a promise. Small, fast, built for stealth. Diaz hacked the door. Reed helped Nara climb aboard. They were almost inside when Nara suddenly froze. Her body glowed brighter, eyes wide in fear. "What's wrong?" Reed asked. She pointed behind him. "They coming," she whispered. From the shadows, 2 black-armored soldiers stepped out, but they weren't human. They were alien hunters, tall and silent, skin like stone, eyes like ice. Nara screamed, and they moved, fast, inhumanly fast. "Reed?" fired first, but the bullets slowed them only for a second. Diaz grabbed a fuel tank and threw it at the ground. "Shoot it," he shouted. Reed fired again. The tank exploded, flames blocking the path. They jumped into the ship and sealed the door. Reed raced to the pilot's seat, hands flying across controls. The engines roared. The hangar doors opened slowly, too slowly. More soldiers rushed in behind them. Gunfire sprayed the ship's side. "Hold on." Reed yelled. The ship lifted, shaking from damage. With one final burst, it flew into the sky, out of the base, out of danger, for now, in the silence of space. Nara sat beside Reed, clutching his hand. Diaz leaned back, bruised and bleeding. Reed stared at the stars ahead, his voice low. "They're not just hunting her. They're hiding something bigger." Nara looked up and whispered a word. "Home," Reed nodded. "Then let's find it." Back in the ruined base, Colonel Hargan looked at a broken monitor. "Send word to the council," he said coldly. "They've taken the prototype." His assistant trembled. "What if she activates the core?" Hargan's voice was like ice. "Then the war will start again." Asterisk enemy within the scout ship floated in the silence of deep space. No alarms, no voices, no gunfire, just the soft hum of the engine. But inside the ship, tension was louder than any war zone. Reed sat in the cockpit, staring at the navigation screen. Unknown sectors blinked in red, restricted zones, locked space. He had no clear destination, no plan, only one goal: keep Nara safe. Nara sat quietly beside him, eyes glowing faintly. She was calmer now, but something in her gaze had changed. She was thinking more deeply, processing faster, almost too fast for a child. Diaz leaned on the doorway, cleaning his bruised arm. "We need fuel, food, and somewhere to hide," he said. Reed nodded. "There's a rogue station in Sector D9, black market, no questions asked." Diaz raised an eyebrow. "And full of traitors, bounty hunters, and backstabbers." Reed looked at Nara. "Sounds perfect." They landed on Station Keros. Floating scrapyard orbiting a dead planet. Lights flickered, metal groaned, and every corridor smelled like old blood and grease. No laws here, only deals, danger, and darkness. Reed wrapped Nara in a cloak. Hiding her face, Diaz walked ahead, his hand always near his blaster. They moved fast through the crowds. Mercenaries, ex-soldiers, broken androids. Nobody cared who you were, unless there was a bounty on your head. They reached a small room at the back of a bar. Inside sat Dr. Vegsil, a former Alliance scientist, now fallen from grace. He was thin, sharp-eyed, and always smiling, like a knife about to cut. "Reed," Vexel said, "didn't expect you here, not with a child." Reed kept his voice firm. "She's not what she looks like, and I need answers." Vexil scanned Nara with a handheld device. As he watched the data scroll, his smile slowly vanished. "This is not possible," he whispered. Diaz stepped forward. "What is she?" Vexil looked up, eyes wide. "She's not a survivor. She's a key, a biological AI hybrid, a living core connected to an ancient alien system." Reed frowned. "Explain in English." Vexil pointed at Nara. "She was made, not born. Created by a peaceful race called the Koran. She was meant to unite all species through empathy. A living translator, memory bank, and peacekeeper." Diaz blinked. "And we destroyed her people." Vexil nodded slowly. "She's the last. If the wrong people get her, they can reprogram her, turn her from peacekeeper into a weapon." Nara looked at them with innocent confusion. She understood some words, not all, but she could feel the fear in the room. Reed looked at Vexil. "Can she be controlled?" Vexil hesitated. "Right now?" "No, she's still growing, learning, adapting. But someone's trying," Diaz added. Vexil nodded again. "There's a code buried deep inside her, a command word. If someone says it, It could reset her mind. Reed leaned forward. What's the word? Vexel shook his head. I don't know, but someone very close to you. Suddenly, the lights flickered. Alarms echoed across the station. A warning blinked on the monitor. Unauthorized access detected. Reed stood up fast. Someone tracked us. Vexel checked the screens. They breached the outer dock. It's not Alliance. It's something worse. In the corner of the room, Nara suddenly stood still. Her body trembled. Her glow pulsed. She looked at Diaz. Her voice soft and broken. Why? You call them? Reed turned sharply. What did she say? Nara pointed at Diaz. Enemy. Reed froze. Diaz stepped back, eyes wide. What's she talking about? He said quickly, she's just a child. She's confused. But Nara's voice rose. No, I remember I saw. You spoke to the Black Eye Man. Before ship, Reed's mind raced. The black-armored alien soldiers, someone had told them about the hangar. Diaz was the only other person who knew. You betrayed us, Reed said coldly. Diaz pulled his weapon. I didn't mean to. I thought they'd just take her, not kill you too. Reed fired first. The blast hit Diaz in the shoulder, sending him flying back. He dropped the gun and groaned. I just wanted out, he gasped. I didn't sign up to die for an alien kid. Reed stood over him, silent. Then he turned to Vexel. We're leaving. What about him? Vexel asked. Reed looked at Diaz one last time. Let the station decide. Back on the ship, Nara sat quietly in the co-pilot's seat. She didn't cry, but her eyes were sad. Reed looked at her gently. I'm sorry, he said. I should have listened sooner. Nara leaned against him. You still protect, she whispered. Reed nodded. Until the end. Far across space, on a dark moon, a tall figure watched a screen. Colonel Hargan stood next to a hooded alien with glowing red eyes. She's activated a memory block, Hargan said. The alien's voice was cold. Then send the hunters and prepare the trigger word. He turned to the screen showing Nara. Let's see what happens when the child remembers what she really is. Through the firestorm, the stars outside were calm. But inside the ship, war was building. Reed sat at the controls, flying fast through dark space. But speed wasn't the problem now. Time was. Nara sat behind him, knees pulled to her chest, glowing. Faintly, she hadn't spoken since Diaz's betrayal. Reed looked back at her. You all right? He asked gently. She didn't answer, but her eyes met his, full of confusion, pain, and something else. Something growing. Dr. Vexil worked quietly at the ship's terminal, running scans on Nara's DNA. The code inside her is shifting. He said, she's not just learning, she's changing, becoming something new. Reed raised an eyebrow. New how? Vexil hesitated. She's absorbing emotions, memories, maybe even abilities. If we don't figure it out soon, she might become unstable. Before Reed could answer, a loud alarm buzzed across the cockpit. A red symbol blinked on the screen. Lock-on detected. They found us, Reed said sharply. Outside, 3 sleek hunter ships sliced through space. No markings, no signals. Pure black like knives in the void. They were faster than anything Reed had seen before. Hold on, he shouted, as he pulled the ship into a steep dive. Laser fire burst behind them, lighting up space like a storm. The scout ship shook violently, sparks flying from the panels. Nara screamed, not in fear, but in pain. She held her head, glowing brighter, voice shaking. They calling me, she cried. Vexil looked up in horror. They're using the trigger signal, trying to take control. Reed gritted his teeth. Turn it off. I can't, Vexil replied, but she might be able to fight it, if she chooses to. The ship flew into a storm belt, a region filled with fire debris from a broken star. Plasma clouds swirled like burning oceans. Flying through it was suicide, but staying meant death. "We go in," Reed said. Vexel shouted. "We won't survive that. We won't survive them either." Reed snapped back. He looked at Nara. "I need you to stay strong. You hear me? Don't let them take your mind." The ship entered the firestorm outside. Plasma bolts slammed against the hull. The heat sensors screamed. Inside, Nara trembled violently, her voice twisting into a strange echo. Two voices spoke at once. One hers, one not. "I am." "I am not. System reboot." "Command. Override." Vexel moved toward her. "She's being overwritten. The old code is fighting for control." Reed grabbed Nara's hands. "Listen to me. You are not a weapon. You're not a command code. You are Nara, and you choose who you want to be." Nara's eyes widened, glowing like twin stars. She gasped and then screamed. The lights on the ship blew out. Every panel went dark. Complete silence. Then, slowly, the ship's systems rebooted. But not like before. The language on the screens changed, symbols only Nara could understand. And she was now floating. Not standing, floating. Her body pulsed with light, hair flowing in zero gravity, voice calm and clear. "I remember," she said. "I remember my home. I remember why they made me." Vexel stepped back, amazed. She's awakened, not a child anymore, not fully. Outside, the hunters tried to catch up, but Nara raised one hand toward the cockpit glass. A strange pulse of energy flowed from her fingers. Not fire, not force, something pure and invisible. One hunter ship exploded without warning, torn apart from within. Another lost control and spiraled into a burning rock. Only one remained, but before it could fire, Nara collapsed to the floor, unconscious. Her power was still unstable. Reed pulled the ship out of the firestorm. They had escaped, for now, but something had changed hours later. As they drifted in deep space, Nara slept. Reed sat beside her, holding her tiny hand. "I don't know what you are now," he whispered, "but you're still worth saving." Vexel stared out the window, deep in thought. "There's a planet nearby," he said. "Ruins of the Corn, the creators. If we go there, we might find the truth." Reed nodded. "Then that's where we go." Back at the hidden moon base, Colonel Hargan watched a playback of the firestorm. The hunter ships destroyed, Nara's power released. The hooded alien beside him growled. "She's ahead of schedule." Hargan narrowed his eyes. "Then we change the plan. We bring her home. By force if needed." The alien's claws tapped the glowing console. "Send the Omega Protocol, and wait the other prototype." Asterisk, the secret of the child. The planet below was dead. Gray skies stretched endlessly, lightning dancing across clouds of ash. Its name was Veyros. Once the capital world of the Corn, Nara's creators. Now it was a graveyard, forgotten by time. But somewhere beneath the broken surface, answers waited. Reed looked down from the ship's viewport. "This is it," he said. "The place where it all began." Nara stood silently beside him, glowing gently. Since her awakening in the firestorm, something inside her had changed. She spoke less, but when she did, her words held weight. She was no longer just a child. Not anymore. Dr. Vexel adjusted his scanner nervously. "If we go down there, we might not come back," he said. "The radiation, the defense systems, they could still be active." Reed looked at Nara. "She needs the truth," he said, "and I need to know who's trying to use her." The ship landed near a collapsed tower shaped like a spiral. They stepped out into the dust and ruins. Wind howled through broken stone arches, and deep below, something pulsed, a heartbeat from the past. They found a tunnel half covered in debris. Old markings glowed faintly on the walls, only visible when Nara passed. As they walked deeper, Reed noticed something strange. The air grew warmer, and the silence thicker. Then they entered a massive underground hall. Crystal pillars stood tall, unbroken by time, In the center was a glowing sphere, floating above a platform. Nara stepped forward, her eyes wide with memory. "I know this," she whispered. "This is where I was born." Vexel stepped back, his voice hushed. "This is a memory chamber. It holds the last consciousness of the Koran." Nara placed her hand on the sphere. A soft light spread across the room, and holograms flickered to life. Figures appeared. Tall, elegant beings with soft voices and kind faces. They spoke in unison. "To whoever finds this message, know that we created peace, and peace was feared. The child you carry is not a weapon. She is memory, empathy, unity. She is our last gift." Reed felt something twist inside him. All this time, he thought he was protecting a child, but he was guarding the last hope of an extinct civilization. Suddenly, the chamber shook. Dust rained from the ceiling. Outside, engines roared. They were not alone. Back on the surface, dark ships landed, black and red, shaped like claws. Soldiers in gray armor spread out, scanning the ruins. At the center stood Colonel Hargan, his face cold and unfeeling. Beside him was something worse, another child, almost identical to Nara, but her glow was red, not blue. Her eyes were sharp, not soft. Her name was Kyra. She was the other prototype. Inside the ruins, alarms sounded. "They're here," Vexel said. "And they brought her." Reed's heart dropped. "There's another one?" Nara nodded. Slowly. "She was made with me, but different. She listens to commands." A voice echoed through the chamber, deep and mechanical. "Return the unit to us, or be erased." Reed grabbed his weapon. Not happening. The platform below them began to shift, revealing a staircase made of light. At the bottom, a circular chamber opened, with one final hologram. It showed two children, Nara and Kyra, standing together. A voice spoke again. There were meant to be two, one heart, one mind. But when war came, they tried to separate balance from control. The program was split, and Kira was altered. Nara stepped forward. "I don't want to fight her," she said, Vexel whispered. "But if she's under command, she'll fight you." Suddenly, the ceiling exploded, and Kyra dropped in from above, floating like a ghost. Her red light filled the room, and her voice was cold. "Come with me, sister, or die with them." Reed stood in front of Nara. "You'll have to go through me first." Kira raised her hand. Energy crackled in the air. Reed fired, but she blocked it midair without blinking. Nara stepped out from behind him. "Stop," she said softly. "We were made to heal, not destroy." Kyra's hand trembled. For 1 second, the red light flickered. She hesitated, then screamed, a sound full of pain and confusion. Her light grew stronger again. "I don't remember that," she hissed. "You forgot because they made you forget," Nara replied. "But we can remember together." As energy built between the two sisters, the ground cracked beneath them. Hargan watched from above, holding a small device, a detonator. "If they won't come willingly," he said, "then I'll bury them here." He pressed the button. The entire ruin began to collapse. Reed grabbed Nara. Kyra stared in shock as the ceiling fell toward her. Nara reached out her hand, glowing bright blue, and in that moment, time froze. Humanity Fight's Bacton stopped. Dust froze midair. Fire hovered like paint on glass. Reed's breath hung in place, unmoving, everything silent, still, except Nara. Her body glowed with brilliant blue light. Not warm, not cold, something. Beyond, she floated above the collapsing ruins, her eyes locked on Kyra. "Enough," she said. But her voice wasn't just hers. It was thousands, the memories of the Koran speaking through her. Kyra stood frozen, hands still raised, caught between command and memory. "I don't understand," she whispered. "You will," Nara replied gently. The world around them pulsed. And time surged forward again. The ceiling crashed down, but stopped an inch from the ground, frozen in mid-collapse by Nara's expanding field. Of light, Reed gasped as the pressure lifted. He reached for Nara, but couldn't touch her. Her energy surrounded her like a shield. Dr. Vexel stared in awe. "She's controlling space-time itself," he said. "She's not just a key. She's the core." Above the ruins, Colonel Hargan stared at the chaos with disbelief. His detonator melted in his hand. "What is she?" He muttered. Beside him, the hooded alien finally stepped forward. "You were warned, Colonel," it said. "She cannot be controlled." Hargan growled. "Then destroy her." The alien raised a clawed hand, and a fleet of dark drones descended. From the sky, each one charged with plasma, enough to vaporize a city block. They locked onto Nara's signal, preparing to fire inside the ruins. Nara turned to Kyra. "They're using your pain," she said. "Come with me. Remember who we were, not what they made us." Kyra trembled. Her red glow flickered. "I remember." "Laughter," she said slowly. "A song. We used to sing it." Nara took her hand, and in that moment their lights merged, blue and red swirling into pure white. Outside, the drones fired. But before the plasma could hit the ruins, the light exploded outward. A wave of pure energy tore through the sky. Every drone short-circuited mid-air and crashed. Hargan was thrown back, screaming. The alien turned, eyes wide for the first time. "She has awakened the true signal," it whispered. "The Unity Protocol. All over the galaxy." Sleeping Corin machines powered up. Old satellites blinked to life. Hidden temples activated. The message of peace, memory, and truth echoed across star systems. But Nara was falling. The power had drained her completely. Reed caught her in his arms as she collapsed. She looked at him, eyes flickering. "Papa, did I do right?" Reed held her close. "You did. More than right, Nara," he whispered. "You reminded us what it means to be human." Kyra knelt beside them, tears falling silently. I'm sorry," she said. Reed looked at her. "Then help us fix what they broke." Back on the surface, the Alliance fleet arrived. But too late. They saw the destruction, the glow, the activated ruins, and they heard the message broadcasted by Nara across every open channel. "This war was built on lies," the voice said. "I am the voice of those you silenced. I am not your enemy. I am hope." People listened. Soldiers lowered their weapons. The truth had arrived, and it could not be stopped. Weeks later, Reed stood at a peace summit. Leaders from across the galaxy sat together, watching the screens. Nara stood beside him, not glowing, just smiling. Kyra sat nearby, quiet but free. A reporter stepped forward. "Sergeant Reed," she asked, "why did you risk your life to save a child the galaxy wanted destroyed?" Reed looked at Nara, then at the crowd. "Because humanity isn't built on orders or war. It's built on choice, and I chose to protect the future." The room was silent, then slowly filled with applause. Later that night, Nara looked at the stars from a balcony. Reed joined her. "Do you miss them?" he asked. "The Corin?" She nodded. "They're not gone," she said softly. "They're just part of me now." He smiled. "And you're part of us." She reached out and held his hand, and for the first time in years, the galaxy felt quiet, deep in a dark sector of space, where no light reached. A single black pod floated silently. Inside it, a third prototype, still sleeping, opened its eyes. Its glow was not blue, not red, but green, shifting, unstable, and a whisper echoed in its mind. "Balance is broken. Begin phase 2."